Joining me now is retired Air Force Special Operations Commander, Major Glenn Ignazio. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's talk a little bit about this news that made a lot of headlines earlier this week. Does the Bibas family have a point? Should the Prime Minister be prioritizing diplomacy rather than revenge at this moment?
Yeah, honestly, I think so. I think that it was horrific that Hamas released this, and then within 24 hours, the body was actually presented to them. So that is a major mess up. And what the tactic was or why, I do not know. But at the same time, in this chaos, it's one of those things where it's really on a knife edge. But I believe that if we continue on with the ceasefire and move forward to make sure that no errors are done on each side, we can get forward to actually ending this versus having a hair trigger to respond in a combative way that could end the ceasefire and the opportunity to end this conflict.
As we mentioned, this is a major violation of that ceasefire agreement. The question is, how could it have possibly happened? Do you have any indication on how that confusion over Shiri's body occurred in the first place?
You know, of course, this would be speculating, but, you look at it saying, does Hamas and the Hamas medical have the capability to identify and use DNA accordingly? I don't know, but that's a great question. But the idea that the actual body within 24 hours was presented, that lays to me that there was awareness and knowledge there. So I do believe that it is malicious intent. Again, it's not good. The other thing is as you see in Gaza, Hamas does an incredible parading, an incredible ceremony each time a hostage or a body is then transferred back to Israel. So it is definitely a negative, malicious intent. I don't think that they have anything to gain from it other than embarrassing Netanyahu and others on the political stage.
Hamas did release a statement that offered an explanation. I think we have it that we can show to our audience. It reads, "We also point to the possibility of an error or overlap in the remains resulting from the occupation's targeting and bombing of the place where the family was present, along with other Palestinians." Do you buy that explanation?
I mean, it is plausible, but the other thing is when they did the autopsy and the analysis of the babies, the Israelis said that these children were unfortunately killed not by a strike, but literally hands-on from the Hamas terrorists, because this happened way back in October. Now, it's because of that you got to look at whose report is accurate and true, and that's one of the things that's always been questioning is we never have a third party to evaluate this. So as why as it may be plausible, it's also one of those things. I think that's why we should be diplomatic in the approach, as it could be error on both sides. So let's try to maintain that neutral standard and continue on with the ceasefire, which is bigger and broader than many others. Then, we need to keep some kind of peace in this area.
Earlier today, NewsNation had the opportunity to speak to the U.S. ambassador to Israel. That's former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee. He was on Morning in America today. Let's take a look at that. I'll get your reaction on the other side.
I think the president's been very clear that Hamas cannot remain in Gaza. President Trump has been absolute in his resolve that these are not people that you can sit down and say, okay, you can go back to governing Gaza, you can control it again. He's made it clear that's not going to happen.
What's your take on the way the new administration has been handling these discussions on Gaza, and then your immediate reaction to what Mr. Huckabee said?
Yeah, I do like the way that this administration has taken this, and I'm looking at it from geopolitical and politically, is having a strong backing as far as one standard and one approach to what's going on in Gaza. What Trump has said is that we're going to back Netanyahu and the IDF as far as what they decide to do in that particular area, and we'll be behind them. Where before, that wish-washy kind of feel with the prior administration really did cause some uncertainty through the international community as well. So, like it or not, having at least a solid position, we know where people stand, and regardless of how you feel, that intimidation factor that Trump does bring to the table does have an impact. At the same time, what will happen in Gaza and having Hamas hold control absolutely cannot have it. That is something that really impacts the entire region as a whole, is because of the attacks that we've had. We even saw the bus attacks recently in Israel when we see these types of terrorist actions. We can't have Hamas in Gaza. Israel can't have it. And honestly, the Arab nations can't have Hamas sitting there as a terrorist action continuing on in the future.
That's Major Glenn Ignazio. Thank you so much for your insight, sir.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.